manifesting your dreams and purpose with the spiritual coaching and healing and EFT course here. We're on week 10 of 12. We're on the kind of the final round of this course, and then we go on to the heart and soul of coaching and healing for those people who are continuing, which is a very wonderful course too, where we go into archetypes and muscle testing and all kinds of things and spiritual stages and such. And so today we will be going into some more fascinating, very hands-on material around the inner child, going deep into the inner child subject, which can be a very profound one. And it can be pretty emotional. So kind of prepare yourself. I think it'll go fine, but sometimes some things do come up from inner child wounding and so forth, as we will explain. But anyone want to just start off with a any kind of positive change in your life or any manifestation, anything you want to just mention, just kind of coming into the class today? Anything you want to share? Because it's always nice to hear small or bigger things that you're experiencing or breaking into. Yes, Marcia.
Well, I have discovered tuning forks
Yes.
and I'm using them on myself right now. I've used them on a client, but I
Okay.
used them on myself and I've used them on my dog. And we
Okay.
seem to be doing pretty cool with that.
What for what purposes are you using them?
Well, I've got one that is called an auto tuning fork weighted, and it's for joints, bones, pain, that kind
Oh,
of
for
thing.
pain. Okay.
And so my dog, of course, she's old and she has pain. So I
Okay.
use it on her and
Have you
on me.
noticed any things from doing it?
She's been afraid of it at the first, but now she just, okay, mom. She just lets me. So it's pretty cool. Then I've got another set called the Trilogy, which is angelic. 333 666
Mm.
999.
So they're specially designed tuning forks.
Yes, they are
Okay,
just
interesting.
wow.
Okay.
Just relaxing and getting into a more out of a headspace into a
Okay.
heart space.
Good.
It's
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, a lot of tools, and these are all complementary things that you can add. Not that people necessarily have to add that like Marcia, but I was just wondering how think people have, that's could be considered a manifestation where you manifested another healing
mm-hmm.
modality. So yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. So today, as we go on to the inner child exploration, and we're going to do a deep dive crash course in the inner child. So like a lot of things we've shared here before, there's going to be in a few minutes a lot of very important information given you in a short period, hopefully pretty concisely with a little spaciousness, because as you teach classes, this is something I'll just kind of give you a metacognition. What is metacognition? That means how I'm teaching what I'm teaching you, because you're all teachers and I know you're doing classes or will be doing it. So you want to give as much as you can, but not rush it. It sounds a little paradoxical at times, but with the right frame of mind, you can do that, which is hopefully I will do that today. So you're going to get a pretty good pile of information, hopefully delivered spaciously with little times and intervals and different ways of repeating it from different points of view. That's another nice teaching method. So you're approaching the same point, but you're showing it from kind of a different perspective. So the person doesn't say, "Well, I just heard you say that, Philip." Oh, I'm seeing it. Okay, so this is the mental development of an inner child. Okay, so this is the emotional. Yeah, there's an overlap. So there's some of it's the same, but this is a little different. There's still develop. Okay, so you're kind of covering similar things from different points of view and adding on. Okay, that's a little teaching tip. The inner child has a lot in common, by the way, with the age regression. Of course, when you age regress, you could go to a past life and you could age regress to uh, an adult, not necessarily a child, but you do often um, uh, go to that inner child place um, at different ages, which we'll talk about. And so there's something in common. That's why we started off previous class with age regression, moving into this, which is, um, let's see how to put it. It could be some deeper things, setting off some things, some wounded things, which you may or may not be aware of. The beauty is that for your spiritual progress, as we talk about the spiritual stages of evolution, especially in the next course, one of the keys is healing your inner child. So sooner or later, especially by the time you're kind of getting into really a deeper spiritual growth stage, the inner child comes up. You can't brush the child under the rug. Does that make sense? You can't push the child into the closet. I don't know what the right metaphor is. You can't ignore it anymore. You do need to, in certain ways, just address it and do the healing and the rehabilitation of yourself, as we'll explore today in detail. And the inner child, what is the inner child? I'll just go around. When you think of the inner child, just a phrase or a thought, what comes to mind? Inner child, you think of what comes to mind for you? I'll just go around. Bonita, what do you think of?
The tender part of me.
I like that word. Marcia, do you think of anything or phrase comes to mind?
Innocence.
Ariel, anything?
Yeah, the forever little girl in me.
That's a nice way of saying it. I like those words. Kind of poetic. Pamela?
It's
anything?
My wounded part.
Ina?
I guess,
Anything?
yeah, I mean, I guess I think of it as the me that's the most me, the me that was me before like the trauma of the world
Okay.
happened. So like a place where it's my most authentic self, I guess.
Gotcha. Terry, anything coming to mind? Terry, are you still there? I'm not sure. Terry, you're there, aren't you? Oh, yeah. No, Terry, you're there. Anything come to mind? And that we haven't covered? Maybe we covered the main points. Was there anything else, Terry, that is coming up for you? Just a phrase or a thought?
Oh, she's muted, I think.
Oh, you're muted.
It's okay. I'm sitting with it.
Okay. That's fine. And now, I think I'll just do a double duty thing here about teaching methods. I'm just sort of in that mode today of kind of being in multiple places at once. So what we just did is a nice kind of pre-frame brainstorm mind map, as it's called, as teaching methods. And the nice thing about it is it gets everyone involved. It's I find it very interesting just as being the teacher. It's not like, oh, I go, I'm taking a break or anything. This is very engaging for me as well. Everyone's engaged. We get a lot of very useful information. And this is a big and. I get a sense of where you are in the situation, what your thoughts are. I know they weren't completely your thoughts because it's a complex subject, but it helps me kind of orient where people are and where I can go and how I can piece that together is what I'm about to say now. And so the inner child, I think it would have all the things we just mentioned in that mind map, which I could have written it out, but I didn't. I could have done a whiteboard here. Has to do holding your emotions, your beliefs, your unmet needs, often quite unconscious. Also often then unconsciously influences your adult behavior. And it often shows up in things, the wounded inner child, when you're angry, you're people pleasing. We talked about that in a previous class. Perfectionism, procrastination, those kind of things are just a sampling, and I'm going to go further into that, but that's just a touch. Now, here's something that I think will help you get clear on this subject. We talked about, on the one hand, the wounded child, the wounded part, and the forever little girl innocence. Well, there's what's sometimes called the magic child or the wonder child, sometimes the divine child. And I think maybe Ariel mentioned that, like most me. Is that what you said? The most me,
The
most
forever little girl in me.
the forever little girl, and the one that was the most me um, was, oh, that was Ina who said that. Anyways, yeah. So that would really be that that child before the child was hurt as part of the growing up, part of the evolutionary process, part of your soul's plan, part of what you came here to do, part of your karma. That's all interconnected, as you know. So the wounded child is, well, the magic child is very playful. We talked about innocence came up, tender. Those are good things. Creative is another, that the kind of when children are so creative, So that part is still even there in the, so there's a mixture of how much of your magic child is there, and you can activate your magic child by itself as an energy. And as you heal your wounded child, more of your magic child is there, and you have a very healed child who's often just integrated in the background and working with you, not against you, in terms of evolution speaking. In other words, instead of being that angry, people-pleasing, reactive part. But the magic child is very expressive, spontaneous, playful, sensuous, and the wounded child is very reactive, fearful, seeking approval, among other things. So certain situations may bring out your magic child, and certain situations often unconsciously trigger your wounded child. You might be able to get a sense of what some of those things are. Okay. Anyone want to just mention anything so far about noticing their magic or wounded child, just before I go into some details on this, about just how it may be display or show up in your life?
Yes.
Ariel? Yes.
I guess what came to me when you were talking about it was that I feel like I really worked a lot with my inner child healing, a little bit over a decade ago. But before that, my behavior in my life was that if I was having difficulty with somebody, it always felt like they were, like it was against me, like because it was all about me type of thing. And without realizing that sometimes it's not about me, it's their stuff. I had to really learn that, because I thought everything, I just took it all on myself. And I think that came from a very deep wound in my inner child that
yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else want to share anything on just inner child, magic child, or anything that's come up thus far? There'll be going to be some more stuff coming up in just a few minutes. I'm kind of going into the water slowly here. Hey, hi, Cynthia. Good to see you. We're going into some very deep material today on the inner child, the wounding, the reactivity, that the wounding part. A lot of the problems in our life, not because blaming the inner child, it's because we have a wounded child, as I'll say, a hurt part. And just like if there was a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old in your room, and the child was hurting, was upset, the needs weren't met, or was abused or anything, the child would be very reactive and very maybe out of control, or shy, or hiding, or lashing out, etc. Well, that stuff is still in us until we heal it, more or less. And some of it, yes, a little bit of it we will outgrow, but a lot of it, that's where the conscious work comes in. The activations, we talk about them in the next course, the 4th activation, where you start to heal your inner wounds and embrace yourself at a deeper level. Before that, you can kind of just deal with it, avoid it, excuse it, kind of, work around it, adapt to it, deny it, those kind of things. That's what most people do. And that's what we did until we healed it, right? So that's where we were. And so we can kind of understand the journey ourselves. And I'm going to give you some more details here, as I said. Okay. Wounded in magic child. Let me go into some more specifics now about childhood development. And I'm going to take it from a couple different perspectives. The reason I'm doing this little child development history, which comes out to your inner child, is not that because this is an academic course, but because as you do the healing, you get a better sense of, hey, the inner child is now 2 years old. And a 2-year-old inner child wounding is going to be different than a 5-year-old inner child healing. Mm-hmm. But it may carry on, and it'll be like stages that are not fulfilled, as I'm talking about these different stages. So if you didn't complete them, then they're going to show up in your life and mess up your life, but in a good way, because that's what you do to heal and grow, and that's how you have a lot of spiritual growth. I mean, if everything was perfect and easy and a walk in the park, is that the phrase? You wouldn't learn and grow very much. If all your needs were met and everything was perfect and everything was easy for you. I mean, I guess you might be an ascended master possibly, but even it seems like the ascended masters take on pretty challenging lives. Okay, so let's look at this from a mental perspective. And you may have heard this Jean Piaget, a Swiss therapist, track this, and it's been verified by many people. These stages are objective, that everyone goes through these stages if you get through them. The first one would be that first 2 years of life, the mental stages. There's a technical term called sensory motor. Sensory motors, like your senses and your motors, are basically you're basically functioning those first 2 years with a lot of movements and instincts and senses. You're pre-verbal, you're learning through your senses and movements. Safety and touch is a big thing, nonverbal love. So all those things, if they weren't provided to you, if you think about it, well, what could I do to have them provided for me? Well, I mean, it might have been part of your soul contract and your karmic contract with your mother and caregivers on one level, but basically it's just there. And it's, as I said, unless you've done conscious healing work, it's still there. Maybe minor, maybe major, depends on how dysfunctional your life is in certain places and times. By the way, some of the things I'm going to say will probably create some discomfort in you. I'm not intending to make you uncomfortable. The reason why is it's going to bring up some things in you like, oh, not necessarily intellectual, but that's your inner child coming up. And the inner child, when you act out, that's another inner child acting out. Why did I blurt that out? Why did I retreat? Why did I go into hiding? Why was I so angry? Why did that person just, get under my skin for no reason? It's often your inner child, unconscious, actually running your life at times. So this is really great to get this stuff out in the open and really do the healing. It's really a great opportunity, and I know some of it might be a little bit unsettling at times, but I know you work through it. So ages 0 to 2, that's sensory motor, senses and motor. Then by ages 2 to 7, when your inner child is more involved in fantasy, very me-centered. When 0 to 2, you don't even have a me. You're just part of your mother. You're sort of merged with her. By somewhere, and these are rough ages, 2 to 7, when it all starts, you start to be very me-centered, a lot of fantasies, a lot of vivid imagination. And again, some of the magical child is there before the wounding is. You're very playful, expressive. The world seems like it's revolving around you. Doesn't really see other people's perspectives that much. You might be aware of them in relationship to you. Likes drawings, storytelling, right? The 2 to 7-year-old, very simple explanations. And it often, when that child may feel misunderstood and make up stories about feeling safe, maybe stuck in fantasy versus reality. Maybe some people pleasing, overreacting can come in there. So that what I'm saying is that when you notice you're people pleasing or overreacting, it may be something that happened to you or a series of things that happened to you between ages 2 and 7. The third, and this is the mental development of the child perspective, and I'm going to go other perspectives after this, but mentally, ages 7 to 11, approximately, called concrete operational by Piaget. Concrete. Things are very concrete when you're age 7 to 11. you begin to think logically, sort of, think of multiplication tables or spelling bees, being able to spell words and things. Very structured, needs sort of a certain fairness and feeling included and encouragement. And kind of, if I do the right things, I'll be loved. There's a certain sense of rules and justice that come into play. And feelings want to get validated. And there may be a lot of perfectionism that come from that time. Perfectionism, something we're all more or less struggling with at times, where things have to be perfect, because if it's not perfect, what happens? We have a tantrum. We feel like we failed. We blow things out of proportion. We react. I knew it wouldn't work. I blew it again. Can't I ever get it right? I'm not going to even start again. I'm not going to do it ever again. I'm not going to do it till it's perfect next time. I mean, I knew I should have, that kind of negative self-talk, very black and white thinking. A lot of all or nothing thinking comes in at that sort of age, 7 to 11, rigid thinking. So then if we take the next mental stages, the fourth is called formal operational stage, Piaget. These are, some technical terms, but basically age 11 plus. That's when you start to be able to think more conceptually, more abstractly, more self-reflection, more hypothetical, like doing scientific hypotheses, or doing a debate, sort of seeing other sides of things, more independence, more of your own identity. Okay. But there might be a lot of overthinking and fear of rejection on that side. And there's a lot of levels and stages to that, as I'll explain, of how your thinking can be more and more complex and more gaining more and more perspectives, as I'm all about to explain. So there's a lot of levels even to that. So when you're helping yourself or someone, when we do the process that we'll be doing in a couple minutes on the inner child, this is just a little bit of data in your data bank to say, oh, wow, that seems like, you're pre-verbal, you're crying, you need a hug. Or, you think life is very unfair. Well, maybe, you're an age, 7 or 8-year-old, this is happening. It may give you clues, but you're going to ask the person anyways, but it gives you a little bit more of a background. So again, what we're doing in the program is when you help people, you're not just knowing a bunch of very good techniques and processes. And of course, when you're doing soul centering, that's more than a process. That's connecting with your soul and living from there. But you actually have some background and some awareness that goes a little beyond just the moment, some context, shall we say. Before I go into another perspective, any combinations about mental cognitive development with children? Okay, so let me take it from another point of view. There's also emotional development, regulating your emotions and identifying your emotions too. I'll just mention that, how emotionally aware are you? How much empathy do you have? And that takes a certain amount of development too. How much can you control your emotions in certain situations? How are your social skills? How do you relate to others? So there's emotional development. And I want to just mention one more is moral development. This is another viewpoint of what's occurring when you're healing yourself. Because, when you're healing yourself, say, why did I react so strongly? Why did that person get under my skin? Why did I go into hiding? Why am I so trying to please that person? Why am I so worried about what other people think? Well, hey, there's something in me that needs healing. What is that part that is calling out in me that needs attention inside, that didn't get these stages completed that we just described? So morally, you could look at it when the child is very young, very self-absorbed, and very then concerned about just himself and his body or her body. It's sometimes called egocentric development. with a child, although children are sensitive to their parents and other people, they do have an element of empathy, which is interesting. It does, because all of this doesn't fit into neat categories, but they're mostly about themselves, right? They're mostly just getting their own needs met and how things immediately affect them. And here's another thing, we're saying this, we're thinking of a child. A lot of people who are adults are acting from these early stages.
Mm.
So if you wonder why the world is the way it is, a lot of people are egocentric, and I won't start naming names, but people at very high levels of positions could be mostly egocentric, worrying just about how things benefit them. Now, the next level is
You
okay,
pause.
but basically
Oh, I
they're
think
basically secondary. Yes?
I think you cut out for a little bit.
Okay, so I guess there was
Yeah,
an
you froze.
internet glitch.
You
Okay,
froze
am I
about a
okay now?
minute.
Mhm.
Did
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
was it
About
just for a
minute or
moment?
so.
For
About a
one
minute.
whole minute? Oh, wow.
Yeah, about a
Okay.
minute.
Thank you for telling me that. That I'm going to make a note of that. Okay. Got it. So I'm not sure where I left off. But basically, for the egocentric, it's just all about me. The ethnocentric is about my tribe, my people, my religion, my culture, my race. You might be okay, other people can exist, but mine is the priority and everyone else is sort of other and secondary to me. That's called ethnocentric. And if you've ever noticed what's going on in the world, you can see how predominant that is when most people. And people who study this say most people are operating at an ethnocentric or egocentric level, the majority of people, even in this country. And in some country, it depends from country to country. But even in this country, most people are operating at that level. The next one could be called world-centric, and it could go to cosmocentric. World-centric is where you're a citizen of the world. So you're transcending your tribe, your religion, your race. You're including everyone. And it could go to even further where you're cosmocentric, one with everything. That's sort of a more transcendent place. Clearly, that's a smaller minority of people as you look at the way people are functioning in the world. I mean, I think a lot of people have that, an element of that, are aware of that, but it's not predominant. And it may go in and out, of clarity. Okay. Any comments or questions before I give you a few more pieces of data to kind of put this into perspective? Ariel.
So would you say that egocentric, you said most people in the world operate from that, so that
Well, are
key,
ethnocentric or egocentric? Many
okay,
people from
right,
egocentric, probably mostly ethnocentric.
right. And is that the reason why we're in a world of competition versus,
Exactly.
cooperation? And then so ecocentric, is that the right word? Ecocentric, the tribe? Is that what you said that was? Eco?
Ethno, like your
Oh,
ethnic,
ethno, that would,
ETHNO, ethnocentric. So that would be with business too. Like my business has to compete and be better than everyone else's business. Like there's very few, well, there's some conscious business, but business just say my business is the best and it makes profits and it needs to beat out your business and beat out the competition, right?
right. So which one would be the one that would be more about cooperation or collaboration then?
That then is what's called world-centric.
Okay.
And there's a higher level to that called cosmocentric even. That would be so world-centric would be I'm a citizen of the world. Yes, I have a business. I want it to succeed. I want purpose, profit, and purpose, they sometimes say for conscious business. My business has a purpose. It wants to help the world. Yes, I want to be profitable and stay in business, of course. But, I'm not going to do it at the expense of helping people and, cheat and do, anything I can to get a profit, which is sort of the world we're often living in.
Right. Well, it's changing.
Yeah. And, I'm voting. I vote. Why do you vote the way you do? Because that's the way my parents voted. Why are you that party? Everyone around here is that party, I'm thinking it's very unconscious. So again, your child was programmed with those things.
Mhm.
So they're very automatic. It's interesting, when they do a lot of polls, like people may disagree with the politician's policies, but they still support the politician. They disagree with everything he's doing, but they're supporting the politician. So why is that? Well, if their identity is with this politician, that's who I am. My father beats me. He calls me names. He's not there for me, but he's still my father, and I always love him and I always support him. And he's always, there's a certain nice thing to have with your father, that you have a family. But, when you start to be a citizen of the world, you transcend that. You put it in a bigger perspective. Any other comments or questions? I have a few other pieces of data I want to run through that I think you'll find very practical and helpful as we go here. So this is going to put the pieces together. If anyone has something, questions, please feel free. Okay. How the inner child forms. The little child who you desired to be, nurtured, cared for, and loved. Well, when the inner child's when you did the wounded child is a denial of your true self and feelings. Parents, you're to be seen and not heard, right? You're stupid. You're clumsy. Can't you get anything right? The negative criticisms that we internalized. You're loved for what you did. If you're a good girl, you get a reward. If you're a bad girl, you're punished. You have to do things a certain way or you're not lovable. And that, again, all that can affect your development. How do you know your child was wounded? Here's some child's things that maybe you can relate to in yourself or people certainly. You're overly responsible. You're the little adult. You had to take care of your mother or father. They weren't able to take care of themselves because of their wounded child. Maybe you feel pressure to be perfect or to be quiet or to always be helpful. Maybe you were told in one way or another, don't cry, don't play, grow up fast. You don't have time for that. So that may show up in, as we said, being overreactive. Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you try too hard to please certain people or people in your family. Even like sometimes childhood pictures or pictures of childhood can get you kind of overly emotional. That might be a sign. Or if you have your own children, you might overindulge them, kind of compensating. Maybe you have a problem having fun or relaxing, being spontaneous. Those can all be signs of healing that you can do. And the beauty is you can heal all that stuff and I'm sure all of you knowing you have done already.
Philip,
Was
you're glitching
feeling,
again.
ooch,
You glitched again.
I glitched. Am I on now?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I can't change it in the moment. I'd have to have changed it before the class, which I'll know next time. Thanks for telling me. Let me know if they do it, and I'll come back. Am I now good? Yeah, good. Okay, so unfinished business of the child, feeling and expressing your emotions. I remember one client said it's dangerous to express my emotions. That's a belief, by the way, the danger. You can't really play freely. That might feel a little odd. Maybe you can't say no to people because you had to do what your parents say or you'll get a whipping, or who knows, they might just blow up in the spot and explode. You can't feel safe in groups or in your own identity. Those kind of things might be unfinished business. And what you really wanted to hear, and you can now hear, is I love you just the way you are. You can say that to your inner child. These are messages to say in the processes we're doing. I'm proud of you. You're saying that to yourself, to a specific part of yourself that needs to hear it. It's okay to play and rest. I can't rest. I have to keep working. I have to be a workaholic. I'm sorry I made you grow up too fast. You may need to apologize kind of to to yourself. You can trust me to protect and take care of you. Sometimes when I work with people with inner child, that inner child will not trust the person. We'll do a process, a beautiful process like we're about to do in 5 minutes here. And it'll be time for the inner child. And usually the inner child will be fine and will accept the hugs or the nice things about I'm proud of you or I love you, or you could hug a pillow, things you can do. But sometimes the child is hesitant, is doubting. Why? Why is the child doubting? Because you haven't followed through in the past. Yeah, she said she was going to stand up for me, but she hasn't. She said we were going to do more playtime, but she hasn't. Broken promises again. Maybe kind of echoing your parents too. So it sometimes takes some, depending on the child, that's rare, but I want to just give you an extreme situation if you're helping people, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and some of these processes are more than a one-time thing. And there's a lot of levels to this and a lot of aspects for the healing work, depending on how much you've already done. If you suppress your inner child, if you keep doing that, you're going to struggle to feel joy. Your emotions might be shut down, or some of them. You might become a workaholic, people pleaser. Might avoid connecting with people very deeply. You might feel just you're not good enough, something's wrong with you. So all of this, we have parts of this. We all have this. I still have parts of this in myself. Little images, little things. How do I know that I have it? If something throws me off, feels personal, there's something there in me that's still reacting. Yeah, I don't like it when something, doesn't come through. I tried hard, and there's little disappointments in life, is up and down, and that's normal. But when I overreact and I take it personally, there's still stuff there I need to look at. Setting boundaries is an important thing to learn, as we've talked about too. Things you can do for coaching, things as we'll suggest, you could, for your hug a pillow, do something fun every day, play, do some drawing or coloring or dancing. It's interesting. The inner child, like that young 2 to 7-year-old stage, likes to do a lot of creative stuff. And if you ever go in even children classes, they love to do creative activities. Be spontaneous, be silly. Share how you feel with someone you can trust, not someone who's going to, crush you, obviously not someone but hey, I've really been feeling a little vulnerable. I've been feeling a little sad lately, whatever. And going in the nature is great. That's a really great thing to do. Your inner child love. Go barefoot in your backyard, or touch a tree, hug a tree, do a nature walk. Okay. You can do journaling too on this. So I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time, and I told you this was kind of a crash course. I hope I was spacious enough. But comments or questions on the inner child, just kind of getting a sense of that. Terry.
When I wound up doing some inner child work, there was a time, like you were talking about, when a child is reluctant or doesn't trust you yet. I also found that sometimes that happens when the child was never allowed to say no. And I knew you had mentioned that, but the aspect that was so fascinating was, if I accepted a no, it's okay. Later, the answer would change. Then the child would say, okay, I'm ready now. It's fascinating, but I also worked with young children, same thing. Sometimes they would say no, and that's not part of their home where they normally are allowed to say no. And so to accept that, it's okay. Well, we'll do that another time, or let me know when you feel like it. And then once you accept the no, the child goes, okay, I'm ready now. But it was never honored before. So it was kind of a different take on that, allowing the child to be autonomous or valued. So that was helpful for me.
I got kicked out and came in. We've never had this problem before, but okay. Can everyone hear me now? Is everything good? Terry, did you finish up on what you had to say? I was hearing you, but did you complete what you wanted to say? Okay, good. All right. Any other comments or questions?
I just to kind of go with what she was saying there, I found my best friend Michelle and I, um, it's something I noticed about her is she is not a very forceful person. She's someone people easily have walked over her whole life. And so as she's went on her healing journey, saying no, standing up for herself, asking for the things, it's a little clunky sometimes. And even if like we're going somewhere and she's like, I don't want to drive, I need you to drive, you're going to drive this time. Like she's very forceful about it. And I just say, okay, that's no problem, I'll drive this time. Almost always by the time we get around to the concert or the event or whatever, she's like, you know what, I changed my mind, I'd rather just drive this time. But I think to what she was saying, sometimes just accepting the no or accepting that presentation of the thing, um, not having resistance to it can often help the person come around to where they need to be.
Mm-hmm. I like that way, not having resistance. That's a very good way of saying it. Can everyone hear me? Are we freezing again? Now I'm wondering if we're, okay, good. I'm glad we're still good. Thanks for sharing that, Ina. Any other comments before we do a process on this? So, let me see if I have where it was. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so it's in your manual is the process. Let me explain you how it works. I'll just show you where it is. In your manual, inner child, section 12.8, the inner child. So there's a similar induction as the regression, just to review that. That's relaxing and then going through a mist, through a river of time, through a tunnel. You can do a magic carpet. You just have a way. I like to go through a mist, or you can just choose them. Go through a mist or a tunnel or river of time. You choose, or another way. So you're going back in time, like the age regression as we did last time. That's the same, really. But here's where it is different. The inner child will appear because you're intending it to. And again, you'll start with an issue, why you could just meet your inner child or something the child needs, but maybe, why do I keep becoming angry at work, or whatever it is. Let's check into my inner child what that's connected with. Okay, specific. And this is a very practical thing to do with clients and yourself. You could do a lot of this processing, and it tends to go a little deeper. That's why we're doing it later in the course here, not the first couple classes. So you're going to meet your inner child, and you'll meet the child at a park, or a playground, I should say. I guess a playground and a park I usually think of. So your inner child is there. You take a note of what the child looks like. Okay. And sometimes the child, looks very, revealing, could look very withdrawn, very poor hygiene, have a torn outfit or something. It could be all kinds of things could be revealing. Anyway, then you take the child to a building nearby and go down a hallway where there's a door leading to an event from the past. Go in the building, see a door that will lead you into the past. And the door may have a number on it. If the door has a number on it, that might be the age of the child, because the child's age may change to get at the source of this. You find out if it has a number that may or may not be relevant, but it might be another piece of information. Go through the door and just see what the scene is, what's happening. Again, like age regression, past life, what's going on, where are you, what's happening. And usually there's some need that isn't met. Something went wrong. I mean, that child's not being heard, not being seen, not being loved, not feeling appreciated, etc. You may want to do some holistic EFT. We sometimes do that happy tap where EFT, even though part of me feels hurt or angry, I still know I can be happy, or I know I can say yes to my life. That's the happy tap, or holistic EFT, or reframing and anchoring. So you do the healing there if needed. Sometimes it may not be needed. So helping to release that wounding. Child really just wants attention and loving and having affection. And then what do you need? Do you need a hug? Do you need some kind words like "I love you," "I'm proud of you"? What do you need? Do you need me to just acknowledge you and make you feel safe? So you're reparenting, is sometimes called reparenting. And when you feel resolved there, and then going forward, what can you do? Every time that this situation comes up, I'll be there. I'll hug you. I'll acknowledge you. Or I'll do this in meditation and connect with you for a while, or periodically, to make you feel secure. You find out a good way for the child to feel comfortable, and that's where the trust may come in. Like I said earlier, I don't feel trusted. But usually the child will trust you. Usually. Unless you've been really hurt and had a very, very difficult time of it, which some clients may, or maybe you have. That's the process. It might be pretty straightforward. I don't know, comments or question on the process or anything. So this is a very wonderful one to do with a client. You could really help someone tremendously and save, years of struggle and heal all kinds of things where you're reacting and having trouble with boundaries and stuff. Comments or questions on any of that?
This might be, somebody might see this as nitpicking, but honestly, because the trauma was so prevalent in my life,
Yes.
if I found myself at a park and then was willing to meet, with myself, and then they said, let's go into this building, I would have been frozen. So how can I story that for a child who has been traumatized? Like,
are you talking about helping a child or helping an adult?
well, you're talking to the child.
Are you talking about the adult's child? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Well, we'll do the process. You'd have to do the process and see what comes up. What the wound was. What the origin was, and what was needed, and what was unmet. And I don't know if you did that.
I'm looking at it from both sides because I've been the child and the traumatized, but now I'm also being a practitioner. So I want to have something at the ready if I said, hey, let's go into this building with the child and they're like frozen or scared, that would have totally shut me down. So I'm just saying how.
Yeah, you're saying you're doing like a sort of a worst case scenario where someone won't do the process.
Yeah, you never know what's going to come up. So
it's possible. Yeah, it's possible, but I think I mean, that would be possible, and if you can't, you might just have to end the process or just do more deeper relaxation. But the reason why that would be highly unlikely is because the person has come to you for help and wants help. So the person who's the adult having this process is wanting to get to the origin, and you are escorting the child down the hallway. You, the adult, is escorting the child down the hallway to help the child find out what's going on. So the child would probably be ready. If the person wasn't ready to do it, they probably would be unwilling to start. Is that background? Where's the background noise coming from? Is it you?
Somebody, yeah, a big party just came in. I'll
Okay.
switch to another spot. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Philip, did you also say that there were two other options that we had? One was going through the mist, and then
yeah,
you did another one as opposed to
the
doing
age regression, how to go back in time, which is the age regression technique from last time. The three choices that we gave were going through a mist, going through the river of time, or going through a tunnel. Some people, we didn't do it. In some hypnotherapy, they say take a magic carpet ride. Some people like that. It seems a little silly. But I like to give people a choice because they often have a preference. If I don't give them a choice, sometimes I don't, I just have them go through the mist because I seem to think that one seems to be the most, I've just found the one that's easiest for most people. But yeah, so those are the choices. Was that your question, Cynthia?
Well, Terry was talking about, a child who's been traumatized or an adult who was traumatized as a
Right.
child, taking them through a building.
Right.
I was thinking I thought I heard you say that there were two other options, but you were saying that was just from the age regression.
Yeah, just
We
how to
had
get into that place. Once a person gets into the place, they're in a relaxed trance place. And unless there's something, I mean, it's possible if you're having a person who is extremely challenged,
Mhm.
and you probably won't be working with someone like that because they'd probably be, in under like a therapist or mental health condition. Like I'm thinking of people who might be extreme, but you wouldn't be working with people who are mentally disordered who might, have just, horrific emotional disturbances and long time abuse. I mean, it'd be rare that you would be working with someone like that. And if you were, the person would probably be normalized enough that they could do this. So I think you're anticipating things that you don't have to, I mean, you're looking for things that I don't think you're going to have to address. And if something in the unlikely thing, it's never happened to me in doing this for decades. That's never happened to me, zero. And I haven't heard of anyone it happening to. But if it did, in this theoretical case, then maybe you just need to end the process and return and do some other processing, But again, I don't think we should spend a lot of time on something that is almost for sure not going to happen. Yeah, let's spend time doing this, which works really well, and understand how to do it. Was there another question there or comment? Oh yes, Ariel.
I know you don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I can honestly see where Terry's coming from, and sometimes you don't know. This is just my opinion.
Yes, sure.
You have a lot more experience in this. That you don't know that someone's going to go into that bad place, especially as an inner child. We were talking at the very beginning how this is very deep work, and I'm just wondering, is there perhaps if something does arise or gets, you can feel a beginning of a triggering because of this. I see like a building as a child is very institutional, like it's hard, that maybe if you feel like someone's going to, freak out a little bit there, like
Yeah.
you feel that maybe present something a little bit softer to them.
Yeah,
like
go down a pathway, go do it down a place in nature. Yeah, if there's a problem with that. Yeah.
That's all.
Right.
That's all I wanted
Yeah,
to say.
that's fine. You could always alter that. Again, if someone, again, this is, we're talking about something that would probably happen 1 out of 100 or 1,000 times. If you do 100 of these, maybe something like this might happen, or 1,000. You could do some tapping, some continuous tapping, which is, heals the emotional system and calms you down. So I would have a person just do some calming and breathing and just relaxing and just going at the pace they want to. You see, they're going to go where they want to go and as far as they want to go. If the person isn't ready to do very much, it'll probably be a very small thing. They may have a huge number of things. They may have 10 huge things to deal with, and they'll probably take you to this easiest, smallest one, and you go to the one that's right for the person now, little, big, whatever. And the person knows and will intuitively go there. You're not telling the person where to go. The person is guiding themselves where to go. You're just offering an opportunity and support. And if you have built some rapport and trust with people, as we've talked in the classes and other sessions, the person relatively trust you to help them, right? And you, the adult, is now helping your inner child. The child is saying, now I have an adult. Again, if the adult, if the child is not, if you've been kind of not on the scene, that might take a little longer. You might not get as far as you might in other situations. But that's whatever progress you make is good. Could be very little or a lot. Okay, well, that seemed to bring up some stuff. Okay, well, that's interesting in itself. Well, that's telling me something. So that's sort of that whole idea has something about it, for our inner child. The fact that several of you were talking about it, there's something about, oh, I'm being, forced to go somewhere in a rigid place that I don't want to go. Like, what does that have to do? That's reminding me of something that's making me already uncomfortable,
No, well, from my perspective, it wouldn't make me uncomfortable, but I know my circle of friends and family,
Yeah.
how most of them just don't want to deal with issues from their past. And
Yeah.
I've had, I've done sessions on people from another pathway, and it led to things that I thought were pretty insignificant, but for
Right.
them, they were really big
Huge.
things.
They could be very big.
And I had one relative, she didn't come back for the second session. And the one thing that came up was really emotional for her, but it was something really simple. We hadn't even
Right.
began to get to the deeper stuff that I know happened to her. So I was just thinking, because so many people, especially in my community, they're reluctant to deal with mental health issues.
Right.
And was there another pathway that I could, like Terry said, a softer pathway to get them to that point?
Well, let's do the process, because we're talking about a lot of things that aren't going to work before you even process it. I think we're getting a little, I'm hearing what you're saying, but why don't we just do the process and you can see how it works, and you can always adapt it. I mean, if you don't want to go into a building, go down a path. Just say there's a path there, that's going to show me the scene that I need to see. If you don't like the idea of a building, if for some reason that is, okay. So let's learn. In other words, let's learn the basics before and knowing that you can adapt it and vary it, because it works very well. So is that enough to get us started?
Yes.
It's interesting. And it's interesting, the inner child, I feel like I'm here and I'm feeling my inner child coming up, and maybe some of you are feeling yours. And if you're going to do a lot of healing and deeper healing with people, sooner or later you are going to do inner child work, probably, if this is what you're going to be helping people with, and it's tremendously helpful. And we've done a lot of the processes we've done in the course actually are dealing with your inner child. They're just not this particular process. So we've covered this in different ways, more indirectly in the past. And so you can look at many of the processes we've done in previous classes, many, without going into like the path. We're going to do another one, the breakthrough process, in a couple of weeks here. There's many different processes you could do alternative to this one. So this isn't the only one to do, but let's do this one because I know it does work well, and it'll give you a really clear sense of the inner child too. Okay. All right. So then we take someone who has something that's been like, maybe something even has been triggered by our conversation today, which sounds quite possible. Like this is kind of getting to me, whatever this is, and we can kind of go through this process and see where it part of the origins or the origin in the past. Anyone want to look at that? Take a bigger look here, a closer look at something. Find out how to help heal your inner child.
Now, will we be looking at a specific thing that happened to us when
Yeah,
we
can.
Or is
well,
there like an emotion that we're dealing with that we want to get
yeah,
resolved? Or
I think if an emotion would be good, because usually when people come to you, they say, I'm having a problem. I continually, am afraid to speak up to my boyfriend, I don't know why, but I'm always, very shy, and I don't really state what I want to say to them. Why, that's a feeling, that's a situation, what's that about, and then we could do that. Or, I have this anger problem. I'm, always getting angry at work, at this coworker, whatever. So that's the situation. That's what usually people come to you. They don't say, hey, can you come, Philip, can you help me when I was 4 years old and my mother yelled at me? No, they don't do that, but that's where they end up. So let's take it where it's more, natural and what you're going to experience. And it's very practical because people come to you, I have situation X, I don't understand why. We talk about the levels of healing and stuff. I think in the next course, I have a physical situation even, I have this anxiety or tension in my body. Where's this coming from,
I just
Okay.
got a quick question real quick. Say for instance, like growing up, I didn't really care too much about what people thought. I had my own mind. But now, some things have happened, and when things don't go the way I think, then all these stories, I'm making up these stories in my head as to what could be, the possible rational.
Yeah.
And it's not always the truth.
Right.
So would this particular work for that as well?
That could, because you could find some emotional things that are connected with that.
All right.
But I'm just wondering if anyone, especially if anyone hasn't, and I know we have a kind of a small group of anyone in the last couple of weeks hasn't processed. It's nice to kind of give everyone a turn if someone else hasn't and would like to, because basically speaking, it should be kind of easy to find something technically, but then you have to be willing to do it. And I understand that's a personal choice. Someone have something and they haven't in the last couple of weeks volunteered, something that's been a little bit wondering, reactive about. And it could be at something very small. This doesn't have to be a major thing. Just like I get a little irritated all the time when this happens, We've all gone into meditation. That's interesting.
Well, I've already done it the last few weeks, so I'm not.
Oh, yes. I know we have, since there's such a small group, people may, I don't kind of keep track of that, but I just want to make sure that, we're not, the same person isn't doing it every time, because just it's nice to rotate, give everyone a chance and for different reasons. But anyways, if you didn't do it in the last week or two, that's good. Anyone want to share?
Okay,
Pamela?
I'll do it.
Pamela,
Sure, I
okay,
haven't
yeah,
done
you
it in a while.
haven't done it for a while. Yeah, Pamela, good. So any little irritation, again, it could just be a
Yes.
little minor something too.
Okay, why the heck do I get irritated around money all the time?
Okay,
Whenever
so
my husband and I talk about money, we kind of, because we
Mhm.
both like to spend money, and I think we trigger each other about it.
Okay, so I'm going to give the metacognition how I'm going to work with Pamela, my client, for this practice. So she's coming to me about money, right? Do I know enough to start doing the inner child yet? Am I ready or not? Am I clear? No, I need a little more information. I don't need a lot of information, because I'd rather spend most of my time on the process, but I need enough where I could say, oh, now I know what it is, and now we can go look at where that. So when you say you're irritated talking about money, tell me a little more. What does that mean? You're irritated? That's what you said? I think irritated around money. You said.
Yeah. So he'll come to me with the credit card paper, that says, here's the list of what spent on the credit card. Where did this come from? Why is that money? Where's that from? And like we both spend the money on the credit card, and it just makes me crazy sometimes.
Okay. So now I have a lot.
Now.
Now I know much more about what she said, and I'm going to summarize for her to see if I can say in one sentence, should take 1 or 2 sentences to get started. If I can't say this very clearly in 1 or 2 sentences, we're not ready to start. That's your guideline. So what you're saying is you're wondering why you react when your husband asks you about charges you make when he makes charges too.
Yeah.
Is that it, or is there anything? Am
Well,
I missing
he
anything?
wants to. He just automatically assumes it was my charge, and I have to go and figure out and find
Oh,
out why it's not
you're
mine.
you're being questioned about the
Yes.
money you've spent.
Yeah.
Is that right? You've been questioned about the money you've spent, in this case from your
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's question about the money you spent is 1 sentence. I can write it down quickly. So
Yeah.
so that's what we're going to see, what your inner child, what's that's related to. Okay. So now we're ready to go on our journey together, Pamela,
Boy.
and see that. All right, good. And so if you're in a comfortable place there, Pamela, where you can relax and you can feel quiet and have a little private space to breathe, and your breathing helps you relax, taking your own energy back into your body, right? And as you breathe pure calming breaths, I'll count you down from 5 to 1 to help you relax even more. 5, 4, getting more relaxed. 3, letting go even more. 2, feeling more and relaxed in every part of your body. Waves of relaxation continue to flow through you. 1, beautiful, letting go, letting go. And you're beginning to sense or see a different way to travel back in time. It could be a mist, could be a river, could be a tunnel, magic carpet, something else. There's a way for you to just go.
Let's try the mist.
You're going through the mist. You sense or see
Yeah.
yourself going through the mist.
Yeah.
And as you get through the mist, you arrive at that playground. There's a playground where you see a child there when you go through the mist. Let me know when you're
Oh
connecting.
yeah. I see her.
Tell me about
Oh
the
yeah.
child. What's the child like?
Oh boy, she has attitude.
Mhm.
What do you mean she has an attitude?
Yeah, she's she's got this stern look on her face. Like that.
Pointing her
I see
finger?
her clearly.
She,
Oh
I should,
yeah.
oh, okay. And how old is she? About, what can you tell?
5.
Okay. Anything else about her appearance or dress or anything that's noteworthy?
Oh, she's wearing boots, the mucker boots, and boy, she's muddy. She's loving it. She's just
Yeah.
rolling in it. She loves it.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So
she's being spiteful.
being spiteful about what?
I don't know.
Okay.
She's kind of angry.
Okay.
I see that she's
Okay.
angry at me.
Okay. So let's find out a little more about her anger to help her out. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And so we can help her. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
there's a building nearby, and you can go into this structure whatever way it looks inviting to you, and you can help her, escort her. And she's going down a place, and there's maybe a hallway or place where there's some doors that leading to some information, some scenes that can really help her heal. You can guide her and be with her safely there, take her with you. And she'll let you know which room she wants to go in, where she wants to explore to find out more about
yeah,
that.
I see it. It's a door,
Is there a
and
number on the door?
yeah, it says 6.
Okay. And when you go through the door, what's going on the other side of the door? What scene is playing out there?
So it's 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 her brother. So her
Yes.
brother is he's so sweet to her today because he wants money and he knows she has it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm I'm thinking I must be older, but I don't know why I just feel
Mm-hmm.
5 and 6. I don't
What
understand,
what
but it's
what
got to be
happens in that situation with him wanting the money and you? What happens?
Well, he just is so sweet and nice to me and wants money for something, and I have it, so I give it to him.
You give it to her.
And I never get it.
You never what? You never
I never get it back.
and
He
you but
never
you never
gives
get
it
it
back
back.
to me.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's our allowance, and I always give him my
yeah.
allowance, and
Yeah. And how are you
I never
feeling?
get it back.
How are you feeling about not getting it back?
I'm mad.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
mad at him.
Okay. All right. Okay. So should we do a little EFT tapping to heal and feel a little better about that?
Sure,
Find a way to
sure.
deal with it. Okay. So even though part of me feels
No,
mad, feels angry. 1 out of 10, how angry were you, by the way?
9.
Pretty angry. Okay.
I'm a 9.
Okay. Even though part of me feels angry,
Even
I
though part of me feels angry,
can still say yes to life and be happy.
I can I can still say yes to life and be happy. Even though a part of me is angry, I can still say yes to life and be happy. Even though a part of me is angry, I can still say yes to life and be happy.
Yeah, good. And we tap the top pressure point, releasing that.
Release,
Okay, and the eyebrow point, release.
release,
Side of the eye, release.
release,
Under the eye, release.
release,
Under the nose, release.
release,
Under the mouth, release.
release,
On the collarbone, release.
release.
Under the arm pits, release. Good. And the resetting the left and right brain, tapping. I can still feel happy.
Still feel
Breathing.
happy.
Tapping the heart, breathing in, saying yes to life.
Saying yes to life.
Okay, breathing. Okay, good. Pausing a moment, integrating. Good. Good.
Oh, yeah.
So connecting again with that child. How's she doing now?
Well, she really doesn't care that she doesn't get the money back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like she has anything to spend it on, and she loves to see him happy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What? That's nice. What does she need? Does she need something? Is there something that would really help her feel, even better or more loved or safer, or whatever she needs? What does she? And she's 6 years old, you said?
yeah, she
Okay.
needs to speak up and say, "Hey, I want some money now."
Okay.
Or to say no, and no, I'm not giving you the money because
Okay.
I want it too. I don't want to.
Do you
I
want to
don't
tell
want.
her that?
I
Do you
don't
want
want to
to?
be.
Yeah. Why don't you tell her as the adult that you can speak up and say no? And I'll help you do that. I
Okay.
can. You want to tell her that?
Yeah.
Why don't you
Yeah.
say it in your words, or how you could say those words or whatever?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's okay to want stuff. It's
Mhm.
okay to spend your money. You're worthy. You're worthy of some stuff once in a
Mhm.
while.
Mhm.
Nobody's trying to take anything away from you.
Mhm.
They just love you too. And
Mhm.
they're happy to receive and you're happy to give. But when you're ready and you want something, you are worthy to have that.
Yeah.
She likes that.
So she likes and she's feeling
She feels much better now.
okay.
I
Great.
can see her smiling.
Okay. Yeah. So very good. So that's great. And knowing that you can continue to honor her worthiness or reinforce her worthiness, right?
Yeah.
And you can continue to speak up. These are post-hypnotic suggestions, just as a thing that we've said. You continue to say no when you need to say no, and you can speak up when it's time to speak up, and if you want something, right?
Yeah.
So we're going
Yeah.
to, yeah, and anything you want to say to conclude for now for your inner child, knowing that you continue to be in touch and support her and speak up for her and support her and honor her worthiness. Anything else you want to conclude for now, Pamela?
Just give her a hug and
Yeah, give her a hug.
yeah, that would conclude.
And a lot of times people like to even hug themselves or hug a pillow. That's kind of a nice kinesthetic kind of physical thing to do. You can do that whenever, as part of your daily meditations or whatever. Good. So do you feel it's time to come back?
Yeah.
So just as we count down to go in, we're going to count up to come back, and you'll remember that you now have even more empowerment to speak up when you want something and to say no when it's time. You can honor your worthiness. 1, ready to come back. 2, remembering what you want. 3, removing anything you don't want. 4, coming back refreshed and also returning to this place whenever you want. 5, opening your eyes, back in the room, more empowered, more able to speak up, more honoring yourself, more in this moment.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. I see why I'm triggered. It has nothing to do with him. He's not trying to tell me I'm spending too much money. I'm just feeling like I was unworthy.
Right. And that's
So
what we do. We
that's
project these
cool.
things. It's like, and I remember when my father would say certain things, I would go back into my childhood like I was a child talking to him, like that was playing out again until my adult I grew up enough or connected with my spiritual adult in my soul to say, hey, wait a second, I don't need to keep reacting this way. Yeah, very good. So I'm going to do a quick review, and then we will have, maybe I'll draw a little soul coaching card to conclude. I know we've covered a lot in a short time, but, and there might be some questions or comments too. So we found an issue, a current issue. Why do I react when my husband talks to me about charges on the card? And went back in time, saw the inner child right away. And this is, I would say, what Pamela did, which was pretty smooth, is normal. That would be a normal process. I mean, that's usually the way it works. It's again, sometimes if people are more wounded, there's a lot more intense stuff going on, a lot more hurt and anger, and it may take a lot of, multiple sessions to get through it. But this was, I'd say pretty normal and pretty smooth and effective. And then we explored the child. We saw the child, said we can, find out more and help you. The idea is you're helping the child. So the child wants help. In fact, the child is usually saying, you haven't been around so long, I thought you'd never show up, It's kind of like, as a child, when the parent isn't there, where is my parent? Why is my parent abandoning me? Why isn't my parent loving me, Oh, wow, the parent is actually doing that now. So generally that is very encouraging, unless, even though the parent could be saying, I'm going to do it, and the child doesn't trust yourself, that's an extreme example, and it may take a little more encouragement and time to do it. And then we went and found the hallway, the scene, because the scene is just there. It's a natural situation. Again, you're dealing with your unconscious mind. A lot of the questions come from the conscious mind, like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, it's good to be prepared, but the unconscious mind, it just is all there. It's all in your unconscious. That scene from Pamela's 6-year-old, it's just there, hanging out, unresolved, taking up space, interfering unconsciously when she has those situations with her husband. But, oh, wow, I don't have to be that way anymore. So when the inner child is more integrated, it's more passive, and now she can activate more the magic wonder child. Well, maybe I can be more playful and creative with money instead of reactive and worried, or whatever. And then we did some EFT. We did that happy tap version of EFT, even though part of me feels unhappy about money or angry, etc. I know I can be happy. I know I can say yes to life. We did the tapping, and then she felt better. What does she need? A hug. What are some things to say? Post-hypnotic suggestions. You can speak up. You can honor yourself. Those kind of things that she was saying. and we come back. And then afterwards, we could talk about follow-up strategies, integrating it, meditation, ways she can just connect with her inner child, especially while weekly doing journaling on it. Maybe just hugging a pillow or embracing herself certain times of the day and smiling or saying her affirmations or whatever. Comments or questions? That was the, and of course, I really highly encourage you to come Thursday because there's a lot to this. It can tend to be kind of deeper. Because it's deeper, that doesn't necessarily mean it's harder. It's just like kind of some deeper healing, some very powerful transformative work to practice yourself. And you could do some deep healing maybe, or just a little something. It doesn't have to be deep. Comments or questions now?
I do have a question.
Yes,
And this
Terry.
might be appropriate or totally not, because I wondered if there could be a bridge in a way between the work that we're doing here with the child, but also bridging it towards what's going on in her life now. So my question would be, can you say something like, I can let go of this old memory? Because this doesn't have to do with her husband.
Right. Yeah,
Is that leading, or is that helpful?
I think of the reason why I hesitate to affirm that. I can't say absolutely no, but I think what was presented, the possibilities might be more effective. What you're doing is reframing and integrating the hurts from the wounded self, so it's you have a healed inner child, which becomes more magic child.
Okay.
It's not like you're going to have that inner child energy. It's a living energy, and you want it working with you. You can't pretend it's not there still, like I'm just going to say it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, good point. So I love that you said, what does she need? And I wrote that down. Acknowledgement, speaking up. It doesn't address, there was a key there though. She said she didn't use this word, but he was being nice to her.
Mm-hmm.
And he was wise to the fact that he wants something from her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a manipulation, and that's not
it could be. Yeah, and that could be a whole other session.
Okay.
You know, because this, as I said, one inner child session is not going to heal your inner child. If you've done 10 or 20 inner child processes, you still have inner child stuff. It'll be much less. And as you go on in the activations, it becomes subtler and sort of working at different levels.
Okay.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, what you pointed out might be another session that would be well worth looking into. But you don't want to try to get everything, because if you're doing that and there and now, you're going to be jumping all over the place. I followed her lead.
Perfect. That's a perfect answer.
Yeah. If she said, like, I'm really upset, or that really bothers me that he was being nice and I didn't like that because he wasn't being sincere, he was being, if she said what you said, he's being manipulative, that probably would have been the focus of the session. But she did not say that. I kind of gave her an open thing, like, you know, how are you? I gave her an open question, like, how's this presenting itself? And I just went with the way she did, which was that thing about speaking up when she needed to and honoring herself and feeling, you know, she's worthy of money. That's what was the key, at least for that. Ariel?
And yeah, because that, if I'm following it right, that would be kind of like leading her to something else. And I have to always remind myself of that, to be careful with that too, because asking questions is one thing, but then you don't want to lead them into like a whole nother Pandora box, right?
Okay.
I'm glad you put it that way. And we had a whole class on leading and pacing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes for clarification, you might have to lead, you know. So Pamela, are you saying, you know, that this is the most important thing you wanted to take care of? You know, I kind of asserting myself. Yes. You know, this is what seems to be coming up.
Or that might be a follow-up conversation.
Yeah. But she didn't say the idea of the manipulation like you did, Terry. I mean, I think it may have been there, it may have been embedded, but she didn't say that. So that would have been me sort of taking my own thing, like, oh, what about that? Don't you want to know about, you know, if he was manipulating you? You know, now I'm leading.
And it's a challenge when you're very empathic and intuitive too, because because a lot of times you can already,
You're
I
picking
feel
it up.
like I can already like know I can know the story before they even say the
Oh,
story.
yeah.
Honestly. So it's like it's hard sometimes to
And
hold
that's where
that boundaries.
that's where this teaching and the structure and the things you're learning makes you a good coach, because you're disciplined. Yeah, you have the raw talent. You're very intuitive. You're very empathic. But how are you effective? Are you the, what is it? The out of control healer?
I guess it's a boundary too, right?
Boundaries. Yeah. Exactly. So if you follow this now, again, as we say, as Jane and I say, what we're teaching you is a lot of very good things that we've learned and find effective and we know work. It's not the only way. It's not, maybe you may ultimately have your own variations and changes, but at least learn the basics. Don't try to change before you even, change the inner child meditation to something else, and you've never done the inner child meditation. At least learn that one. If you come up with one you think is better and works, fine, go for it.
Okay.
And that's sort of a general guideline for the whole course, and you don't have to do it perfectly. And we know it's your first time doing it, perhaps, so you might stumble with it. And that's why we have the labs, and that's how you become really proficient and grow and learn these skills and grow spiritually in this course. Yes, Marcia.
I was noticing as we were looking at the process and you were leading her through that, to me, the child is the one who is leading us into the building, into the proper room.
Right.
We're not dragging the child there.
No, we're not leading
the child is leading us to where he wants or she wants us to see something.
Exactly. And we're escorting so the child feels safe and supported from us, which is what the child has been missing, the safety and support. So the child is usually pretty happy to do that. We're not coming in and telling them what to do and being part of the problem again. So other comments or questions, and then I'll draw a soul card because I wanted to do one, but I know there were a lot of good questions. We're going a little bit lengthy here, but we're just about closing here.
I think too that though, like the child, it's not like you're a stranger. The child recognizes you because you are part of each other. It's not like I am going into Marcia's garden and leading her child away. She's going into her there and she's leading the child, or the child's leading her. There's a recognition, they recognize who you are. It's not like a stranger danger situation where I think initially, like the idea of meeting a child on a playground and saying, hey, let's go in this building and check it out, could have like a creepy factor if someone has been manipulated by an adult or been abused in some way. But this situation isn't set up in that way. It's they recognize that you are there and that you're there to help, and they are more in charge. So that kind of eliminates that factor altogether, if I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a very good summary. Yep, I like that. Yep. So let me draw a soul coaching card for the inner child, something that could help us with the inner child and the soul coaching card. Because we've covered so much material recently, I haven't had as much time to do the soul coaching. Lately, I've been liking to just shuffle the card and draw from the top. That's just my latest. Ooh, wow. Okay. Oh, this is truth. Ooh. Truth. That's what the inner child wants, is truth, doesn't she? Doesn't he or she?
Yeah.
Truth.
I find it interesting there's a child on the card.
And there's a child on the card.
Wow.
And let me give you the brief description in the guidebook of truth. Wow, and there was a child on the card. That's synchronous. I love synchronicities. When you are more present, you see synchronicities because there's synchronicities all around us, but we're usually asleep to them. So truth, find your truth, be honest with yourself, speak with your heart, walk your talk. That's what the inner child wants you to do, like have someone who can help them so she can do it. The truth is within you. Listen for what is sincere and honest in others. Your soul wants you to know that often the hardest thing about living your truth is knowing what that is. And the reason why the inner child is confused because of all these mixed messages and lack of support, right? The wounded child. There's a place inside of you that always knows what's true for you and what isn't. That's profound. Sometimes it takes sincere silence. and deep stillness to find that voice. But once you do discover it, let go of anything in your life that isn't authentic. So this process really helps you be authentic, right? Release relationships that don't empower you and situations in which you find yourself being less than honest for fear of being judged or not accepted. So you can really, this process does help you release relationships that don't empower you or help improve relationships so you can be honest. Miracles follow when you take time to be genuine. I live my truth. You get the crystal ball there.
Love that.
Yeah. Any comments or questions about the soul coaching card before we wrap up here?
It was a perfect ending.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. Very good. And just by the way, I don't know if I'm going to get the whole recording up because of that breakout. So it may only get part of it. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I'll find out. Again, if you can practice this on Thursday, it will be a very valuable experience for you for your own healing and learning it. Next week, we have another really neat process, the belief process, which reminding me what Cynthia's question is, how do you deal with people who may be skeptical or, this may not work with? Well, you do the belief process, which you'll learn next week, and that sort of screens out, that frames it to know whether to go forward or not. You'll learn that next week. It's easy to do, but it's a very great thing to know about. And once you know about it, again, it'll be a really go-to tool in your toolbox for next week. Any other final comments, a final positive aha, something you enjoyed, something your inner child enjoyed today? Marcia, unmute.
I think every freaking problem we have is an inner child problem.
Lots of them are. And yeah, and again, some of them are past lifetimes, as we said, or some of them started in adults. So there are some things, there's phobias and environmental things, but there are, I wouldn't say every, but I'd say a lot. I mean, a lot. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, if anyone has any after hours, feel free to stick around. And yeah, Terry, if you have a moment, I had a question for you too, but great being with everyone. And hopefully we'll see you